Hi everybody. So I decided to make a video to explain to people how to start reading Warhammer and where to start and where to go from there. I see a lot of people asking questions online, forums, Facebook, even in my comments. They're saying like, "Oh, I'm interested in the White Scar. Where should I start reading?" Or I want to learn about the Horus Heresy. Do I need to read the whole thing? So for people that knows, really deep question. For people that doesn't know, it seems such a basic question. But the thing is, Warhammer got so much books that it's barely impossible for somebody to read them all. I don't know anybody that read them all. So what I'll try to do today is actually to help out people figure out which genre of books they should focus on which codex or where to begin, or which book is better to introduce yourself to Warhammer. But to do so, I have to explain what is Warhammer. Because a lot of people don't know what Warhammer is. They just started learning about it, and after the female custodies thing, a lot of people got interested into it weirdly, which is not a bad thing. But then we got Henry Cavill coming up, maybe with the Amazon show. Who knows? Anyway, so what I'll do, I'll explain what is Warhammer, the different genre from fantasy to sci-fi. I'll explain what is Black Library. I'll explain the different formats of the books. Then I will switch to where to go to actually get the books for cheap. And what I mean by that, it's like PDF versus physical, which physical to go for, and it can be confusing for people because a book can have different formats. Anyway, let's start with what is Warhammer? Well, Warhammer is really simple. It's a tabletop war game. That's it. You buy models, a buddy of yours get models, and you fight on the table. That's it. That is what is Warhammer. But when it was created, we had Warhammer Fantasy, which was its own genre, and in a parallel kind of way in the universe, which some terms may reflect, but they're not in the same existence or plane of existence, really their own thing. We had the Rogue Trader Warhammer, which was the sci-fi. So Fantasy Warhammer, Rogue Trader Warhammer, which is sci-fi. Two different things. So if you read a book related to the fantasy, nothing's going to be related to the sci-fi version. Some words or some gods may sound the same, but they're not. So over time, what happened, the fantasy side, which was Mordine, some people may know about it, it's the older version of the tabletop for Fantasy Warhammer, evolved slowly into Age of Sigmar. And on the other side, Rogue Trader became Warhammer 40k. And we got the Horus Heresy that started popping through it. And over time, the whole thing got its own creation. And now for the fantasy, like I said, we got Mordine that switched to Age of Sigmar. And you may have seen lately Fantasy the Old World, or the Old Fantasy. Yeah, I believe they called it the Old World. So the Old World is basically the older version that it kind of rebooted. So don't get too confused. I'll cover that when we talk about the books, but yeah. So just know Mordine, Age of Sigmar, the Old World, it's all the fantasy. Just know that Rogue Trader, Horus Heresy, and Warhammer 40k, or Warhammer 30k for the Horus Heresy, it's all the sci-fi. Different, and within those, the stories kind of connect somewhat. So okay, so now we know what is Warhammer, and we know there is different versions, and the different versions got their books. So it can be pretty messy. So if you're not interested into the fantasy, then when you search for the books, you know you need to focus on Rogue Trader, Horus Heresy, and 40k. If you're interested into the fantasy, don't read the sci-fi, right? So that's going to help you out, at least to aim to a specific target. Because if you're trying to read a bit of everything from the start, can be really messy and confusing. So, okay. So Games Workshop made those books over time. Games Workshop is the creator of Warhammer. That corporation decided over time that maybe all those books would need to go under one umbrella. And that umbrella is named Black Library. So if you Google Black Library, you will find a website with over, I don't know, 3,000 books, something like that, that is connected to Games Workshop, and you can buy the audiobooks, you can buy the EPUB or PDF kind of version of those books. Doesn't mean they're cheaper, but that is the encyclopedia to know which book exists. And it helps a lot because they're audio drama that are unique to only that website. So now we know Black Library, which is connected to Warhammer, in the sense that they are the library of Games Workshop. So if you go there, you can start looking with specific faction and etc. So if you go in the search bar and let's say you're somebody interested to Warhammer 40k and you want to know about the White Scars, write down White Scar. There's going to be stuff from the Horus Heresy that's going to pop, but at least it kind of narrow. So that's going to help you out to do research. So now that we know that Black Library exists, there's two things I want to talk about. There is a confusion in the lore, and a lot of people seem to have that confusion, is that whatever was printed in the Rogue Trader is factual lore, or whatever was in the old fantasy is factual lore. The problem is when they created Black Library, I believe in the early 2000s, they kind of started to get all together, all the writers together, really focused to make one unique lore. Try to make everybody connect together and follow at least a continuum of the story. Make sure the lore is not all over the place. And that is why some books, like I'll give you an example, if you would see my desk right now, it's full of books, but Firewar, it's been rejected from the lore. It's not completely off. I read it. It's not bad. There is a Tau that got controlled by Chaos, but yeah. But in the lore-wise, it's not canon. It's not there. So over time, Black Library, what they did, they make sure that all the writers get together. And sometimes they had problems and they had to retcon a few things. But it really, really helped to streamline the story. And with the Horus Heresy that was at the beginning of Black Library's creation, they really had to focus on that. So that was the first element. So just to make sure that if you read something that talks about Horus doing something specific during the Horus Heresy from an older codex or an older book, it may not be accurate lore for today. And I'll show you examples. Maybe not examples, but I'll show you different books. The second thing, Black Library offers different types of books. And what I mean by that is the length of those books. We have three different categories for the books. We got the short stories, we got the novellas, and we got the novel. What is the difference? A short story is about 10 to 20 pages. They will sell an EPUB or an online version for maybe $5, something like that. I'll think Canadian money to help me out. If you're from Europe, divide that by 2. So if I say 5, that's going to be like 2-3 euro. If you're from the US, remove like 20%. So if I say $10, 8 USD. Just to give you an idea. So anyway, you got those short stories. Then, like I'm saying, it's just a few words. I believe between 1,000 and 5,000 words or 10,000 words. Then after that, we got the novellas, like this one. They're about 100,000 words, right? They cover about maybe 100 pages, with the maximum around that, which they're not too bad, but usually they sell them maybe $10. Nowadays, I'm not sure with the inflation where it's at. This one was 25 actually, so but it's an hard copy. So yeah, if you're looking for paper, it's going to be about $18 if you're looking online anyways to get the online version. Then you get the novels, full stories. Full stories goes up to, I believe, 250,000 words, and they're like 10 hours to read and stuff like that. Then we got the audiobooks. And the audiobooks, we got audiobooks for the shorts, we got audiobooks for the novellas, and we got audiobooks for the novel. So pretty much everything that you'll see written in novella, books, and short stories will come in audio. The only caveat that I have to add is usually when there's an audiobook of short stories, you will find them within anthologies. I'm not sure if the camera room kind of twisted, but this one is a compilation of short stories for the Horus Heresy, and they call that an anthology. So you will find the short story in audiobook version in the anthology versions. Or if you find a novel which is a compilation of short stories, that should be named anthology. And I'll explain that again later, but just give you an idea. So if you ever see something called an omnibus is a compilation of novel. So this is from Gaunt's Ghost. Usually it's around 3 to 4 novels. They'll add maybe one novella and a few short stories sometimes, but at least you know when you see omnibus, it means compilation of novel, and when you see anthology, it means a compilation of short stories. So if you're looking at the audiobooks and you want to listen to short stories, you need to search within the anthologies. Hope this helped out. Then, of course, like I said, pretty much all the books got the audiobooks version, and they got the audio drama, which are sometimes uniques. You won't find them in books, you won't find them in novella, and they're a bit harder to search. So usually just go to Black Library and write I just forgot the name, but anyways, audio drama, and it's gonna pop. You'll find it. So okay, so now we kind of covered what Black Libraries offer and the different formats. Now we have to cover the different physical formats. So yeah, we're not done with the formats. So now we're talking about the physical formats. So let's start. The basic one that you'll find for the cheapest price is usually the mass market paperback. They're about $10 Canadian, maybe 7-8 USD. Those are the smallest one. Usually you can find them really for cheap online, Facebook, etc. And like everything that Games Workshop does, and if you're new to Games Workshop, everything is in limited supply. So if they want to sell the paperback, it's not print on demand. They got maybe 10,000 of them, and that's worldwide. So they often do reprints. So you will find books with different version. See, this one got the line, this one doesn't. Same series, the Horus Heresy, but not the same edition of printing. So usually it's only the collectors that cares, but at least you know. So if you see them with different style of writing, but they seems to be coming from the same series, it's because they are, but because every time they reprint, they change a little something to distinguish them from one another. So we got the mass market. Then we got the large paperback. So we got small paperback, mass market, large paperback. Difference of size. So the only thing is just it's written a bit bigger, just easier to read. It's really up to you. Pretty much the same thing, again, limited supply, right? Then we got the hardcover or hard copy. So this is a Horus Heresy. Same thing as a mass market paperback. So it's large, pretty much close to the large one paperback. It's a hard copy. The only thing it is, the only distinction is that the cover is hard, and usually you got a sleeve over it to protect the cover, right? Sometimes you get some image and more and stuff like that. But, so yeah, mass market, large paper, hard copy. Then we got the special editions. Okay, so now we're landing into something that is getting a bit more special. So the special edition, like this one, Xenos, comes with these type of papers, as you see, being colored. Sometimes you get it, but usually you got it. You got the, I've just got the name in French, signé bookmark. So you got the tissue bookmark to help you out. Sometimes they're signed. This one is not signed. Sometimes they are. And this one got a little special where we got notes from the writer. They're not all like that, but special edition, usually it's like a hard copy like this. But got a little better design, better look from the type, better look from around. There's another type of special. I'll give you an example. There is another special edition. It was not a limited edition, but was a special edition. And it's signed. And usually limited edition got numbers, and this one got a number. Why some of them does, I have no clue. Usually special edition are not signed, not numbered, but for the characters, when you do a novella, I believe those are novella, that are special edition, sometimes they'll let them sign them, but just for the characters. Everything else will be like this one, not signed, but just good looking. Then we will talk about the limited edition. So limited edition, like this one, are leather bound. They got usually gold side, not always, but usually it's gold. Again, with the bookmark. Usually they got a bit of pictures within them, like the battle maps and stuff like that. And those are really unique. Okay, again, this one was only 2,500 books. And they do the limited edition for not just single stories like that one. That one was an omnibus of different novel. I believe it's 2 novels, 1 novella. Sometimes they'll do special edition of an omnibus, like this one. So this one is for the word bearers. So instead of having a paperback omnibus like this, which doesn't exist in hard copy, they will make a limited edition box like this, which each book is a limited edition version with the art cover and, of course, gold lettering and stuff like that. I believe that covers it pretty much. So, if you're looking at Black Library, let's say they release a new series of books. They announce, let's say, we want to release a new series for Warhammer 40K. It's going to be 8 books. We'll do specials. So if you look on the website of Games Workshop, which is Warhammer, they will release every Saturday one of those books, maybe once per month. One of those books of that 8-book series. They will release a hard copy and at the same time a limited edition of that book on that Saturday. The mass market or the large paperback will not be released before a month. So if you're starting to read Warhammer and you're interested to buy the series as it's been released, be warned, because those hard copy and limited edition will get jumped like crazy. We got fans, we got collectors, we got people that are fans of that specific faction or story that you want to buy, and we got scalpers. that want just to resell. So if you see one of the special edition for $50 and you can buy it on that Saturday, you will see it on eBay for $100, $200. What I usually say to people, it's not worth it. Wait at least a week. If the scalpers bought it and he can't sell it, then make him an offer a month after. Or wait for the paperback to be released. And usually what happens, there's like an influx of people interested, then it crashes and people start reselling for cheaper. Rarely under the price they paid, but at least you'll get it for a normal price. Just be aware of that. So it can be hard to start a series in physical copy nowadays with Warhammer. If you go on Black Library, it's a online thing, right? PDF, audiobooks. You want to read it, you want to listen to it, it's going to be there. So now we got this. Just wanted to make sure that you understand that. If you're a newcomer, be warned, it's extremely hard to start hard copies, physical copies. Beside the paperbacks, which usually you got plenty of them, easy to find. You can find them online, Amazon, etc. So anyways, okay, we keep going. So now, if you want to start reading the books, you need to know there is different type of genre within the genres. So I'll give you an idea. So if we start with Warhammer, let's say you're a fan of Warhammer, you want to introduce your kid to Warhammer. Where do I start? Which books? It's pretty violent, I'm not too sure where to start. Well, there is actually the Warhammer Adventure, which are made exactly for kids. I got my kids, my daughters, which I got the series of these. So we got the series for Warhammer 40k, and we got the series for Age of Sigmar. Sadly, I can honestly say they're really, really hard to find. But if you want to introduce them, check for these, okay? Don't pay a scalper, it's not worth that, okay? You see right now it's $11, and it's a novella. It's a short, pretty good and short stories, and give them an introduction, so later as they grow up, it's going to be easier. So it's a good start. It's a good start for kids. But just be aware of that. To the opposite direction of the genre, beside the kids, we got the horror. So we got a genre that anything that's related to horror. So now for the fantasy Age of Sigmar and 40k, if you want something that is more horror style, dramatic and stuff like that, make sure to check for Warhammer Horror. Usually they're identified at the bottom. Like I say, go to Black Library website, write down horror, and you'll see all of them. And usually they got a small icon that's really different. You see? Warhammer Horror. And if you look at the this one and this one, these are the logos from Black Library. The older version and the newer one. So those are the regular books. So if you find the one for horror, you know you're exactly in the right branch. So from there, of course, then you got the fantasy style, which you must have one around here, which the older Warhammer, if you're looking for the old fantasy modern style, check for Warhammer Chronicle or Warhammer Fantasy. If you're looking a bit older before Black Library was released, they were just identified as Warhammer, but you got those old lettering, and you can see the difference between the lettering, right? And I'm not sure if I got a fantasy. Yes, I do, and I'll show you what the Age of Sigmar one looks like. Oh, and here it is. So you got the Warhammer Age of Sigmar logo. So that's going to help you out to kind of guide yourself just by looking at these, because just looking at a cover can be tricky. If you hide that, you're like, okay, it's a vampire, or I don't know, who knows what it is, right? It can be a bit tricky. So at least now you know that. And maybe I'll show the older. There it is. Okay, so if you look at the older Warhammer 40k logo, this is the older one. Usually they're still lore accurate, but just to give you an idea if it's a newer book or not, this is the newer logo for Warhammer 40k. So this, again, helps you out to know if it's a newer book, older book. If you learn, like, if you know the Plague Wars, which is a trilogy of books with Guilliman and the Death Guard, the Ultramarine versus the Death Guard, there was a retcon in it because it was related to Indomitus Crusade, and was it at the beginning, at the end? Anyways, so they kind of retconned it. So if you see one of those books with that logo, you know the retcon was done. If you find the older one, it wasn't retcon. So it can be confusing if you're not aware of that, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so now what I'll do, I'll start explaining, if you start with Warhammer Fantasy, where to start reading, or some point of interest to start reading. So let's start. Let's talk about the older Warhammer Fantasy. One of the great classics of the Warhammer Fantasy is Gotrek and Felix. And Gotrek got pushed into Age of Sigmar. So if you start reading that old one, which was a really, really great series, it's an omnibus, and there's like 5 of them. I'm not sure if it's 5, but there's plenty of them, and they're really, really easy to find. If you go to old libraries or secondhand books, you'll find some of these, and I highly suggest them. They're really well written. Some people prefer William King over the newer writer. I'm not even sure who was the newer writer, but those old ones are really good. If you like fantasy, I highly, highly suggest these. And since there are multiple omnibus, it's kind of fun because it lasts longer. If you're more interested into a one try, not really dive deep like Gotrek and read all of them, the Black Hearts from the old Warhammer, it's easy to find. Usually I find these for like $5 on eBay. Just search around. If you can find one of these, those stories are great. They're really in the fantasy genre, and they're really, really bringing the fun of the Warhammer fantasy. So this is a great, great start point for what it's the fantasy style. So if we get a bit to the newer, we're going to talk about Warhammer Age of Sigmar. We got Gotrek. So, sorry, got multiple. So Gotrek, not Gotrek and Felix, just Gotrek, is now within Age of Sigmar. So if you want to read about Age of Sigmar, you can start with Gotrek, and it doesn't really matter. I'll do a spoiler. The old fantasy, or the old Warhammer, Mordine, got completely killed by Games Workshop. And I'm not talking about just the miniature, I'm talking lore-wise. If you ever played Vermintide, Warhammer Vermintide on the Xbox, PlayStation, computer, this is basically one of the events of the end of the world. And the world exploded and ends at the end of it, and they killed everybody. So what happened? The gods went on another planet, and they started the Age of Sigmar. So Gotrek got resurrected, and he's doing back a new life over there. So it's the same guy, but not the same story and universe. Does that make sense? One world died, they did a reset, new lore, etc. Not even talking about the past, and they just reincarnate the guy, and let's keep going. So yeah, so at least if you want something with Age of Sigmar and just read Age of Sigmar, you can start reading Gotrek, then go to the newer Gotrek. I know it's confusing, but I'm not working for Games Workshop. I don't know who got that idea, but anyways. The Hollow King. Right now I see they're starting doing maybe an omnibus for the next one. So we got 2 books already released. It's the Hollow King. I always have a hard time to say his name, but we'll just call him Cato. So it's basically the story of a vampire. So if you look in the older style of Warhammer, there's a lot of stories related to vampires, and they're actually really, really great. But there's a lot of books. So one of them is Guinevere. So if you want to start reading about vampires, there's an omnibus called Guinevere. The problem is Guinevere is not really within the omnibus. She's just there in like 2 stories or 3 stories, but one of them is really related to her. The 2 other stories, she's more like a side character. So it's kind of weird. So I can suggest this as a first read, but if you like vampires or it's actually a great book. So yeah, so the vampires are usually well done within the Age of Sigmar and the old fantasy. So this one, Cato, since it's been produced right now, this one got released, I believe, nearly 2 years ago now. The second book got released less than a year ago. So you can expect another book being released soon. So good time to jump on it and follow as it's been released. So that's always fun if you're more a person that like trickles over just binge full stories right away. So I highly suggest that one. If you don't like anything related to vampires, yep, and you're more an adventure person and you like dwarves, so this one is the first book for Dricky Flint, and the second book got released not too long ago, same thing, and it's been a trickle release. So we're gonna get a third one of these coming up soon, and if you're waiting maybe another 2 years, I believe we'll get an omnibus for this one for Cato and an omnibus for Dricky. So just be aware. But anything that's related to Age of Sigmar, you will not find any scalpers going for it. Beside that, what do we have? So if we start with Warhammer 40k, what I highly suggest is Night Lords. But that's like the cherry on top of the sundae. Really, really good omnibus full story. But if you're somebody more interested into specifics, there's omnibus related to Space Wolf, White Scars. You got Tyranids. So you just need to find an omnibus related to the specific faction you're looking for. So for Warhammer, you got omnibus for specific faction, which simplify a lot and helps you out. But I highly, highly suggest Night Lords. In that idea of Warhammer 40k, I need to find it. Where is it? We got Sapphire's Cane, which is actually really hilarious, and we got 3 omnibus of this. They can be really hard to find, but they're actually really, really worth it. So I highly suggest that one. So Sapphire's Cane is, we're following the stories of a commissar, and it's actually really, really good. The other one I suggest, if you're less in the funny side like Sapphire's Cane, you can go with Gaunt's Ghost. This one is more related to action pack, and again we get with Gaunt's Ghost we got about another like 3 to 4 omnibus, and it goes on. So you follow specific characters for a long period of time, and you get your bangs for your bucks. Here we're gonna start going deeper. So for 40k, a good introduction, something a lot of people will suggest is Eisenhorn, and we're following an Inquisitor, and this omnibus covers all the story. So once you covered all of his story, and that's something people don't talk really about it, you can read Ravener. It's another Inquisitor, and it's kind of fun because we got a contrast between those 2 guys. How this one is kind of losing his way, now this one is sticking to his gut. And those 2 omnibus, once they're read, it opens you to start reading the book about the Inquisitor that is called The Quinn. This one's Penitence, the second book. There's another one before I can remember, which we start seeing Eisenhorn and Ravener clashing together, and her, the Queen, kind of see what's happening in between them. So that's another fun thing to watch. Then I'm going to finish, because now it's over 30 minutes. We'll just do Horus Heresy, and that's going to be my last explanation. Where do you start reading the Horus Heresy? Everybody will tell you, just read a specific one for the faction. For me, that read it all, I kind of like how each book give you answers to previous books and bring you question for the next one. And each book got its own genre. If you read Eisenhorn, the Flight of the Eisenstein, there's a part where there's a lot of battleship. Battle between ships in space. But if you look at the Battle of the Abyss, it's literally just a book about battle in space. A lot of people didn't like it. I kind of like it because I love starship battles. So where do you start reading? So the first thing I suggest is these. We got the Horus Rising, which is the first book. We got Galaxy in Flame, which is the second one. False God, which is the second one. And then Galaxy in Flame. If you read those three books, it kind of opens you to know what happened to Horus when he became from who he was to become an heretic. And then you can start going online and trying to focus and find everything, but for a specific faction within the Horus Heresy. But all those books follow up so well with each other. So once you read those three books, let's say you start reading Fulgrim, which is, I believe, the next one. Is the Flight of the Eisenstein, but let's say you read Fulgrim. So you get the story before Horus fell, and it continues where those books ended. So a lot of books start pre those three books, then finish later on, and other books keep on going from wherever you ended with the other one. It's all over the place. But if you really want to read them all, I highly suggest starting from the start. So last thing, where to buy these? I will evade for anything that's hardback and limited edition. I can suggest eBay, usually Facebook. But what I would say is look for the omnibus on Amazon, other thing. They're cheaper for like $10. Then after that, I would go with the audiobook, Audible. If you pay per month, you pay, I don't know, $20. And you got 2 credits to listen to audiobooks, which costs a lot of money. So these will make you save a lot of money over time. By paying those Audible, you pretty much got the whole thing. Because it can be really, really hard to find for a lower price. But these, the first 20 books of the Horus Heresy can be found for $5 to $10. Just shop within any secondhand books, so bookstore and stuff like that, you'll find them. Check on Facebook. Try to evade buying from eBay, from scalpers. Those books are really just worth $10. Some of them are amazing. Like the Horus Heresy, the trilogy, the first 3 ones, I love them. But is it worth paying $50 each? $100 each? No. Try to focus for those. If you're somebody that loves having it on your cell phone, on your tablet, on your computer, and you like having them for cheaper, look on the Black Library website. On every first Monday of the month, there is a special book for the month. That special book is going to be around $5. So it's cheaper than buying the version or buying it from Black Library in the regular price. And it's a random book, so it kind of helps you out to dip your toe within fantasy and Warhammer 40k. And every second Monday of the month, you get a special on the audiobook, which costs about, I believe, $8-10. So it's still better buying from Audible with the monthly payment, which you save over time. The last place I suggest, if you like reading on a tablet or a cell phone, it's Humble Bundle. So once in a while, just keep looking at them every week or two, and you'll see for like $2 you'll get 10 books, random, from fantasy to the Horus Heresy to Warhammer 40k. Some of the times you'll get for $2 like 8 audiobooks. Then if you pay more, you can get up to 30 books from the Horus Heresy or the Warhammer 40k. So keep aware of that. And I believe this concludes, because this is a lot of books and I don't want this to last for an hour. So anyways, I hope it helps out, and I hope to see you guys around.